You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Well, Power Man, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we are going to talk about an amazing franchise that has a dope upcoming project. We have the creative director, the brain behind this. My man here is an award-winning writer. He has worked on role-playing games for Aliens, all right, Terminator, and now he's bringing to us one of my favorite franchises, the Planet of the Apes. Let me introduce to you the Lord of the Figs, the one, the only, the legend, Andrew Easy Gaska. How you doing, homie?
I think that's my most verbose introduction ever, so thank you very much.
Well, hopefully you enjoy, my brother. But no, man, I'm geeking out. I see you've been handling the business amongst many of my favorite franchises. So I'm happy to have you on to discuss what is upcoming real shortly. You know what I mean? Through Kickstarter, Magnetic Press, Disney, everybody doing their thing here involved. Shout out to everybody with this fire project. So before we even get into the amazingness of the project and these questions I got over here, our fans need to know. I want to reel it back. I love my origin story. So Big Andrew here, AG, what up? Let me know, what is your origin story? First off, where are you originally from? And most importantly, Andrew, what is the first thing in fandom overall that you ever fell in love with?
Okay. Well, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Flatbush and then raised in Queens, Richmond.
Greenpoint in the house right here, Greenpoint, Brooklyn in the building.
Yeah, I spent a big chunk of my life in Brooklyn. What do you call it? The first franchise that affected me would definitely have to be Star Wars. I mean, I was 5 years old when it came out.
Okay.
So I tell everybody Star Wars pretty much started me on my path where I am now, because even when I played with the action figures as a kid, I needed to build stories with them. I wouldn't let people just, we're just going to fight until Darth Vader's dead. No, that never happened when I was around. I was like, no, we need a story. Okay, they think Vader's dead, but really that was Vader's clone. And I was doing this as a kid.
You did the Spider-Man clone thing before Spider-Man did it with Darth Vader. I get it. All right.
We had a big clone thing because different kids would come over and they'd all have Luke Skywalker and they'd all want to be Luke. So the Emperor had made clones of Luke and they had to figure out which one was the real Luke was my answer for that. So yeah.
You know what? He even beat Eminem with Eminem, please stand up. He even did that. This is the same shady. You know what I mean? Look at that. And you beat everybody to the game. I'm loving this. Pop culture icon over here. You hear this? All right, folks. So talk to me. Did you have a tribe growing up in your geekdom?
Did I have a what?
A tribe. And your geekdom, or were you kind of a lone wolf and role playing those stories to yourself? Who you were?
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, it's weird because when I was a kid, it's like everybody was playing with action figures, everybody was into role-playing games, and then everybody grew out of it except for me and like one or two other people. So it was kind of my high school years were kind of really weird and lonely at first until I connected with some people who became lifelong friends who really felt the same way as I did. And it's as I got into this business, it's like I feel like I built a new family because I have such close friends that are into all the same stuff I am, but I only ever see them at conventions or over there, and they don't live anywhere near my hometown, and neither do I at this point. So I wouldn't say I had a tribe then, but I have grown one since.
Yeah, definitely. You have a village now. Forget about it. It's done. I mean, So, talk about the creative journey. So, you're saying that, yeah, you were playing these type of things, prior. What led you to want to get creative in this field?
Well, I had the ability to draw, so I always actually thought I was going to be an artist. And since I was a kid, that was my goal. I actually, wound up being one of the best artists in my high school. But
Hey,
then I went to art college. Everybody in college was the best artist in their high school. So then the bar changes, and I realized that I couldn't really get what I wanted from my hand, but I could get it from writing what was in my mind. So I switched to being a writer while I was in college. So yeah, I've always had a creative urge, and my mother totally encouraged that. She had me in special painting classes and whatnot when I was young. Um, you
it's
know,
nice to know you had a supportive parent. You know what I
yes,
mean? Was it just your mama? Was your papa around?
my father was around, but there was a sort of a distance. Like I think my dad wanted me to be more of a manly man than I was. Like I remember once he was like, saying all these role playing games will never get you anywhere. He was going to
Yeah.
help me out.
Andrew, high five. I get that shit too. Hardcore. My father, old school man,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted you to be a boxer.
Yeah.
It's because I got into trouble doesn't mean I want to like have my face punched every goddamn day. You know what I mean?
So
You do that, pop.
my father was a police officer for 22 years. So
Oh wow.
it's I don't think that I think there was a disconnect where with that generation and a lot of times with understanding that this is actually work instead of
It is.
wasting time.
Listen, I'm Puerto Rican, Andrew, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, we come from a culture where they love the arts. They
Uh-huh.
don't consider the arts to be anything that is real.
Right.
Oh, you
Okay.
can't make money out of that. There's those little drawings. What a disgusting thought. That we're getting. I've got so many arguments.
What's funny is that I'm Polish, and I had the same experience with my family that you're talking about there. They just couldn't grasp that drawing
Listen,
or writing was a real job or get make you money. Like
Andrew,
you need
I
to
grew
be.
up in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Huge
Oh,
Polish
I used to
community.
live there. I used to live there.
Huge Polish. I grew up on Morgan Avenue.
Okay.
Huge Polish community. And so
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of my good friends are Polish, and yeah, they will tell me this. Oh, they don't think that this is this and that. They fight with me. I get it. Yo, Puerto Ricans and the Polish community, yo, we're the same, man. With how our parents treated us.
Yeah. 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 I think a lot of people from that generation were forced into jobs that their family said, no, this is what you do for a living. This is the path you have to take.
This is the job.
And then there was something about by the time we got to us that we were like, no, I'm going to do something different. Like I don't know what caused that, um, but I'm glad it did.
So
So
I think we're all glad. So talk about you stepping into that journey then, because again, you go stuff for Alien, Terminator, and now you're touching upon yet another amazing classic franchise near and dear to my heart. Like, geez, Andrew, like talk about stepping into that game. I'm jealous. How did you start working on these classic franchises? How did you even get in?
so I used to work for Rockstar Games, like on Grand Theft Auto and games like that. It was
Oh,
doing Photoshop work for them, behind the scenes stuff, and I worked for them for for many years, 17 years altogether, actually. Everything from GTA 3 up through Red Dead 2. Um, and one day in I think I want to say it was like 2005 or something like that. I walked into a comic shop and I saw there was a new Planet of the Apes comic out.
mm.
And I was like, oh, great. I love Planet Apes. Who's doing this? Is it Marvel, DC? And it was somebody called Mr. Comics. And when I saw that, I was like, who's Mr. Comics? And if they can do this, why can't I?
Nice.
So I was making good money at Rockstar. I was freelance, but I was making good money. And so I hired an entertainment lawyer to see what we would have to do to pursue such a thing. And it was very different back then with licensing than it is now. Back then, if you could, prove you had a decent concept and some kind of business already, they would give you a shot with the license. Now you have to show 5 years of financials and it's all big money, and to prove that you're going to make the company bigger by doing what you're doing, you know.
Oh, wow.
But back then, we started talking to the Planet of the Apes people, and while they were happy with the content that Mr. Comics was making, they weren't happy that they didn't actually go to a trade paperback, because they wanted to see it in bookstores, not just in comic shops. So they said, "Yeah, we're thinking about, you know, ending the contract with them. Do you want it next?" And I was like, "Absolutely, you know." So we're going to do Planet of the Apes comics. This is great. I go to Licensing Expo with my lawyer to meet with representatives of Fox. This was Fox back then.
Yeah.
And the boss of the person who had been talking to me was like, wait, this is for comics? No, we don't want to do comics. Not after what happened with the last ones. We don't want to do comics anymore. So I was like, well, when I say comics, I kind of mean, and I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, I kind of mean like a prose book with paintings, sort of like that Aliens Tribes book that you guys did years back. And the woman who was the franchise director at the time, she's like, Aliens Tribes is my favorite project I've ever worked on. You have your license. So,
my God. Oh, look at Andrew. He knew how to get in, baby. He did his homework. I love it.
So I thought, okay, I don't know how to write a novel. It's a totally different experience than writing comics. I've been trained in writing comics at the school. Denny O'Neil, who was Batman editor.
Wait. So you went in there like just that ass, like, all right, I'm gonna do this, like, oh my God, and like I'll figure it out.
Yeah, because I mean, I was already doing comics, and I was like, I don't want to lose this chance. I had to come up with something on the fly. So I had two friends who really wanted to be novelists, and I was like, well, you guys got your chance now. We'll plot this together. I'll be art director on the book. I'll be creative director of the project, and you guys can write it after we figure out the plot. And they really wanted to be novelists, but they guess they scared themselves out of it. So they left. They wound up leaving the project and leaving me hanging with almost nothing. And so I was like, now at this point, this is an illustrated novel. So I hired Jim Steranko, Dave Dorman, Joe Jusko, all these top artists to do all these paintings for it.
Oh, bosses in the business. Yeah,
so
man.
I'm out all this money, and we have this license because I've also paid the minimum guarantee for the license. And I'm like, who are we going to get to write this thing? And I was like, you know what? I'll just train myself to do it. So I read my favorite novels and got a gist of how to explain things. And I took a stab at it. And luckily, it was successful. So that was Conspiracy of the Planet of the Apes. It was an illustrated novel that came out in 2011. I don't know if you were aware of that book or not.
No, but I definitely got to look into this stuff because, again, I'm from the comic book generation and the film generation, but you're telling me all this pro stuff and this game, I started looking into it. I'm seeing how much deeper it is. Like, oh my God, you guys are making me about to go into the ultimate rabbit hole. Thank you, Andrew.
Awesome. So Conspiracy came out and it did well, but I actually didn't make any money on it because I spent 40 grand of my own money to put it together.
40 racks?
Yep.
Jeez, yo.
But I look at that 40 grand as an investment in my future, because without that project, I would not have gotten everything else I've gotten.
That was college. So you paid a college degree basically to get it.
Yeah. I didn't make any money back on it because I found a publisher to put it out, Archaea Publishing, and they were in transition, so things didn't get promoted the way they were supposed to, and yada yada yada. I didn't wind up seeing any money. But what it did was open my career up. And a couple of years later, I got my cat is trying to get my attention. Sorry, you can see him.
Yeah, see, kitty, look how cute.
That's Adrian. He's actually famous. He is a playable character in the Alien Heart of Darkness module I wrote.
Oh, yeah. That's what he wanted and walked away. Thank you for the credit.
So I got a call in 2015 from the then different franchise director at Fox, who said, "Hey, I actually read your novel, and I think you know some of the stuff better than we do. Do you want to be a franchise consultant?" And who says no to that? So I worked on a timeline for Planet of the Apes that they were confused with how dates conflicted in the animated series versus the movies and stuff. And I to build that, I used the concept that's presented in the third and fifth film of time being an infinite highway with an infinite number of lanes. If you change your lane, you change your destiny.
Yes.
And I put this whole thing together, and that led to me working on the Alien Bible. And then eventually they had no Predator Bible at all, and so they had me write the 700-page Predator Bible.
Oh my God. You went in 700, bro. Ooh, where were you at space wise? Jeez.
See, the funny thing is I had left Rockstar Games, and I was technically unemployed at this point. And so basically I spent months just devoting nothing but to that Predator thing once it came in. So, because it was all freelance. All my consulting work was freelance.
Okay. That's great. Entrepreneurial spirit. I love that.
So, yeah, I left Rockstar because I decided I wanted to do this writing stuff full time. And I figured as long as I stay there, I'm never going to do it because they consumed so much of my time. So I took a chance, and that was the first main thing I did. So yeah, that's led to opportunities to write. I wrote comics for Choose Your Own Adventure.
I love those, bro. I saw it at a con recently, a whole shelf. It just brought me back to when I was a kid. Those were amongst my favorite. I mean, every time I read it the first time, I always died. So it just happened. Like I never got the right choices the first time.
So I still have some of my child copies, and eventually, what I wound up doing was when there are two choices, I'd go to one of them and I bend the page over, and I'd go to the other one. If it was a failure, I'd go back to the other one. Just pretend.
Oh, the cheater! Wait a minute. Oops! I changed my mind.
Yeah. So then, now remember, this is still Fox before the merger with Disney, before they became 20th Century Studios. So that franchise director had another successor who put me on the Predator Bible, and then said to me, "We don't have any Bible stuff we need anytime soon, but if you can think of a project that we don't already have out there, like we have alien novels." But so something like we don't have yet, that's a publishing project. If you can find a publisher who wants to do it, we'll recommend you as the writer. So I realized there was no alien role-playing game. And so I pitched it for 18 months to all these different companies, and everybody said it'll never make money.
18 months of pitching? Woo! Possible, baby. Jeez.
They said it would never make money, that it's a one-note thing. It's like, oh no, you encounter the alien, and then what happens? Who cares, right? And I said, no, it's this huge, rich universe. There's 40 years of comics, or 30 years, whatever it was. There's all these comics and novels and everything that we can build those stuff. I mean, I know because I worked on the Bible,
Yes.
And so I finally went to my friend Joe LaFavi, who connects companies with licenses like this. It's what he does for a living, or at least that's what he did then. He had just met Free League Publishing, and had asked them, "What's the number one license you want?" And they said Alien. So we connected at the right time. Free League got the license, and then they asked me to be the writer. So that's how that worked out. So yeah, and Alien has won 10 awards, I think. We just won 2 UKGE awards this year, last month.
I wonder how this company that said it wouldn't work feel right now.
Yeah. I mean, I see. The thing is, I don't even know why it worked. Like, I know I'm proud of my writing on it, right? But if my writing was good and the art was bad, it wouldn't have worked. It would. They had Free League got amazing artists. They got amazing graphic designer, and they got me writing it with my passionate care of the product. All that combined is what really made that a success. If any one of those steps was missing, and a good rule system. If it had a bad rule system, that would have been the end of it too. So we got really lucky that everything worked on that. So that's how I got into doing all this stuff.
Wonderful. So let's get into. I could show some pictures that I found, but you got this dope project, right? This is it right here, right?
Yep.
That's the dope project right here. We gotta start talking about this upcoming on Kickstarter. I should, you know what? Let me even add that to the stage. Look at that. The official. I mean, you get notified on launch today for Magnetic Press, folks. This is the link below. I'm gonna put this in the show notes as well, but it's right there below. Sign up now so you get notified ASAP because you're gonna need this in your life, especially if you're a fan of the Apes. So talk. Let's start talking over here. All right. Talk to me, kid. How does this Planet of the Apes role-playing game integrate with the existing lore and mythology of the franchise?
So there's two modes of gameplay. Okay, I know this is sort of a rules answer, but it also answers, I think, where you're going. One of them is called thematic mode, where we deal with all the issues that are in the films. So the treatment of people, animal rights, and all the social commentary and subtext that were in the films. That's the way you would construct one of those adventures, right?
Okay.
The other is monkeys on horseback mode, which is pretty much if you just want all the action and fighting, like and that's all you want to concentrate on. If all that other stuff's too heavy for you, all right. So these two modes are available, way to write campaigns and way to play adventures, but the continuity it's basically all designed to resemble the classic films. So the core book is the late 3900s, which is when the first two movies take place, and it basically takes place right after apes have abolished their quota system. They mentioned this in the movie. Okay, the reason why all chimpanzees in the movie are wearing green and all have science jobs, and all the gorillas are wearing a certain thing, and they have their soldiers or service people, service apes, is because of this quota system, which used to say gorillas have to do this job, chimpanzees have to do that one, and orangutans have to do that one. They mentioned in the movie that that's just been abolished, but everybody's still stuck in their old ways. Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to do with that is play up the fact that you can play a gorilla soldier, but now you can also be a chimpanzee soldier. But as one of the first chimpanzee soldiers, you'd have to face a lot of issues with cultural, bias.
Hell yeah! Those ones that want to beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, exactly. So it opens up to rather than everybody being discriminated as you're this guy, you're a gorilla, so you can only do this job. We wanted to open it up, but then you get to deal with all the issues that would cause, and it's a reflection of what we have in the real world, So it's the main core book is pretty much designed so that you live in that world, but you can create. It's sort of your own Planet of the Apes. Okay, it's whatever you want to do with it. You don't have to stick by the film.
So it's Mega's Planet of the Apes, and what I say goes. So I'm Caesar. That's it.
And then the answer file source book, which is being released with it, is basically the definitive book on the films themselves. Ooh. So it gives you all the time periods we see in the films, the 1970s, the 1990s, which is the Conquest era, and the later movies. It gives you everything you need to play in each of those sections, all the bios of the characters and their stats. It allows you to, the section on the 3900s from the original film beneath, allows you to integrate that stuff smoothly into the core book so you can just play that time period. But it even gives you stuff that you can do as astronaut training before you go on your mission. If you
say word. What? Oh my God. And you geeked the F out on this. I am loving this. Yeah, bro. Talk about geeking out. Hold on. I need to know. Are there going to be any specific events or characters from the movies that we as players are going to encounter during our adventures?
Yeah, well, it's the answer book gives you the bios and stats for everybody you've seen in the movies. And I mean, I don't know if this obscure reference, but even Bobo the gorilla from Escape from the Planet of the Apes, he was the gorilla in the cage next to them. He winds up, spoiler alert from a movie from 1972. He winds up killing Dr. Milo in the cage. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
We even have Bobo's stats in there. So
Stop lying, yo. You, oh my God. Man, if you were right next to me, I just hand you my wallet. Go ahead, just charge, bro. Just charge. Jeez. I
so
can't
yeah, and then on top of that, my 2 novels, Conspiracy of the Planet of the Apes and Death of the Planet of the Apes, information from those 2 books are integrated into it. There's Easter eggs. There are Easter eggs from the comics in there. So it's a rich exploration of the universe.
All right, so let's get into this question because you just answered the one that was about to ask, which is about the setting. So I dig that. Amazing. So how did you balance those staying true to the original source material and then bring in some of the Gaska verse into it, if you will?
Well, okay, so my 2 novels, they take place during the first and second movie. Okay,
all right.
So the first novel tells the story of Landon instead of telling the story of Taylor.
All right.
So we know in the movie that Landon winds up getting lobotomized, but and in the second book, in the second movie, Taylor is in the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of that movie. We tell the novel tells what happened to him in between. So
cool.
One last adventure he goes on. Okay, and we've included, if you want to say the Gaskaverse, I mean that's the stuff that we added stuff from those books in there, so that you'd have an even more complete experience. We want to make sure it's the same as what happened with Alien. Everybody was like, "Oh, Alien, how much can you do with that?" Well, there was all this stuff you didn't realize you could do, and that's the same with Apes. There's so much expansion material, whether it's mine or from the comics or anything, that takes this into a bigger direction that allows for endless things that you can do with this world. In the Ansel book, obviously in the earlier parts, the humans are dominant, not the apes. So it's almost like playing a totally different game. With the astronaut training stuff we've given you, you could actually have tell your players, hey, this is a role-playing game about the 1960s space program, and let them play that, and don't tell them when they go off on their mission that they're going to end off on the Planet of the Apes. So the world is huge.
I can't wait. I mean, look at this. I mean, a little tease, but from the Kickstarter, you could even get a cardstock art by the legendary Bill Sienkiewicz. Oh my God. I mean, look at this. Look how dude. I haven't put money behind a Kickstarter in a minute, but, dude, that's it. I think you're gonna be my first. You're gonna virginize me this year. You're my first one that I'm gonna pitch into because I really want this.
That's awesome.
And talk about artistry, because look at the concept. I mean, the art is gorgeous. I mean, did you have any say in the artist, or is this you? I mean, talk to me.
Yeah, so as creative director, I hired the artists and told them what we were looking for and whatnot. For this piece right here, this was done by Chris Scalf, who's done Boba Fett comics and a bunch of other stuff out there. I told Chris, I wanted Chris to do the setting images, because he's really good at it. And I specifically told him, look at the way this was set in the movies, but then light it like it's a movie made for today.
Ooh.
And that's when we got this beautiful image is a perfect example of it. So it is the classic everything, but it has a modern ambiance that you may not get from the films.
Oh my God! Look at this. This is gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, I could almost smell the seawater. I mean, this is a gorgeous piece right here. The artistry behind what you got going on here, man. And this is what you got going on in that book to help us, unfold our stories as we go along in our version of Planet of the Apes shit, bro. I mean, look at this. Wherepa? Oof.
So this is the artist is Runa. She's done stuff for Wizards of the Coast and a bunch of other companies.
Oh, nice.
She's taken our characters and done some really amazing character imagery with it. So I'm very happy with her work.
I can't wait. So elaborate on the game mechanics and how they reflect the themes and struggles depicted in the Planet of the Apes. I mean, how am I playing here? I need dice or what? Or we need a, quote unquote a dungeon master. How does work?
So it's based on the old D6 system from West End Games. West End Games first did the Star Wars game in 1987. That was extremely popular. It's a lot of the expanded universe stuff that came out of the novels and everything before Disney restarted Star Wars all came from those role playing games. Um, Lucasfilm used to, the writers would say, "Well, what is this gun called?" And that, and they'd say they just send them the role playing game, say, "Here, it's in here," So a lot of amazing things that we even see in the Disney stuff spins out of the stuff they did there. And that game was an amazing game to play. The rules were really easy to learn, and it was very. You'd wind up. Okay, so it uses D6, 6-sided dice. Okay.
Okay.
And if you have like a dexterity score that's say 3D, that means you have 3 dice, right? But your firearm, or what used to be called blaster in Star Wars, but is another 8D. Then you'd take 11 dice and you'd roll them and add that up, and that was what your shot was. And there was something about this kinetic energy when I was playing this game, as a kid, that was just so amazing to me that when we had the opportunity, I said I'd really like to pursue talking to West End Games and getting the rights to do their rules and everything.
Nice.
And I was able to pull that off. So yes, it's a game master, which we call the lawgiver.
The lawgiver, love it.
And the lawgiver, presides over up to 6 players, and lays out the story for you to interact in. The version of the D6 system we do is called the D6MV, which is the magnetic variant, because Magnetic Press is the publisher. And what it does is it has a bunch of shortcuts to make play faster, to resemble gameplay now more rather than the way it was, back in the 80s. So it's still based on the D6 rules, but there are some things that make combat faster. And then we've gone on top of that and added things specifically geared towards making your character more defined personality-wise.
I love it.
Yeah, basically because there's so many players out there, or let's say there's Planet of the Apes fans who've never done a role-playing game, okay? When they get in, they don't know what to do. And if you can help define your personality as you're creating the character, you sort of like, okay, this is my motivation. I know what my character's up to. In fact, motivation is one of the things that we have.
I wanted to ask that because in the RPG, right, it allows players to assume either the role of ape or human. So I want I'm curious of how those roles differ, in the game progression.
You can play ape, humans, or mutants. So the way the main way it differs is based on the time period you're playing in. If you're playing in the normal time period of the late 3900s, then apes are the dominant society. So as an ape, you have a support structure. You can go out on an adventure and then you can go home. If something bad happens, you can call the police. You're not on your own. But if you play a human, if you're playing an astronaut who's stranded in this time period, you have nothing unless you can make allies. You have to work to find an ape who's going to be sympathetic to your cause to help you, or find other astronauts who are also stranded.
You better hope you're playing with real good friends.
Yeah. But you don't have that kind of, if you're hungry and you're an ape, you can go buy food. If you're hungry and you're an astronaut, you gotta scavenge and steal, from the fields and hope that the gorillas don't come after you. So it's a totally different type of dynamic of play. Mutants have their own society as well, but that's underground. And if you venture out into the bigger world, you're just as cut off with that. But the benefit that a mutant has is they have psionic abilities, so they have abilities with their mind that they can do, create illusions, as seen in the movies.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that they can trick apes or humans or other humans into thinking that they're something that they're not.
Oh, I'm digging this. I think I know who to play as.
The other thing is you can play tribal humans, the humans that were seen that don't speak, the ones that live in that are nomadic and they were stealing the corn in the first movie. Yeah. And we've got a mechanic in there where if you're the only if there are players that are mutants or astronauts or apes at the table and you're the only tribal human, or there's only a couple of tribal humans, you have to pantomime at the table. You can't speak because your character can't speak. Okay, so it creates this little, okay, what is he trying to say now situation at the table. So the characters won't understand what's going on just as much as the players won't understand the discussions just as much as the characters won't. So now, if you have two tribal humans, they can go talk to each other because they understand the facial expressions or whatever more. They understand what danger means when one of the other ones is trying to warn them. But yeah, they can't. You can't communicate with the others unless you wind up taking the skill of gestural language, which is sign language, and you can slowly learn that. And then, if you have a human or ape teacher, you can eventually learn to speak. But the journey to that is a long time. We see Nova speak her first word in Beneath the Planet of the Apes when she says Taylor. So we know they're capable of it. It's just they have to learn. So if you're going to play a tribal human, it's all about survival.
So much.
You have no home. You're wandering all the time. So you don't know if you're going to come across some creature that's going to attack you. You don't know when the apes are going to raid your little tribe. So it's different. All these different types of play that you can do in the same universe.
And you are a boss, and just though you speak about it, it can show you how passionate, which shows to me as well how much fun this book is going to be and how much fun it is to play. Oh my God. Dude, are you going to go anywhere where we're going to be able to see you even maybe play this in person, talk about it in person, any conventions? You're going to be doing anything?
I'm going to be in a series of interviews during the next month. And I guess I can let you know because Magnetic's subscribers were let know the other day that tomorrow is when the Kickstarter goes live.
Oh, folks, right there, support it right now. Get that thing and make it happen. Make it happen. Make it rain. Make it rain, baby. That Kickstarter goes live. Woo! I'm excited. I'm actually. Listen. Andrew, I swear, I haven't supported Kickstarter in a minute. Not because I don't want to. I do want to. You really gotta grab me. And this is something that, as a kid, I love. Like you mentioned, even the cartoon earlier. I have every cartoon in digital format, every film, new and old. I have the old TV show, all the seasons. I mean, yes, I am a Planet of the Apes fanatic and nut. And I got all the comics on digi format. Keep them safe. That's when I can't afford the old school ones. Sometimes they're a little too pricey. So that's the one part of digital that I love. I get to have everything that I want at my disposal anytime. Woof, love it.
If you look at the picture of the miniatures, which I think is on the front page of this of what you did for the podcast, there's a creature in the background. That's the sea serpent that is from the animated series.
There we go. There we go. Oh my God, let me get that. Look at those minutes. So look at all this pretty stuff we're gonna make. So you got the book. What's that? Other black box behind the book. What's that?
So that's the slipcased edition of the core book and the answer files. Okay, so that's the source book and core book in a limited slipcase. There's the black slipcase like that. There's also a more limited white slipcase edition. Nice. Then there's the regular versions of the books, and then that image, the one that's leaning on the books there, that's a box set. That's the adventure box set. It comes with an adventure that leads into a campaign. It comes with maps. It comes with a GM screen and dice. It's specific Planet of the Apes dice. It has the Alpha Omega symbol on it from the bomb. And
jeez.
The other box you see there is the miniature box, Ruins of Tomorrow. Miniatures are there right there in front of you. There's also going to be a lot more miniatures that are unlockable on the campaign. So as we reach certain tiers, you're going to be able to now add on special things, which I'm not allowed to say what they are until they announce.
Oh my God! I can't. What a tease! I really need to get a stripper pole GIF here because you're teasing like a stripper right now. Oh my God! What is going on here for my soft porn? I need this in my life, Andrew.
All I can tell you is that we have some really awesome sets. They're all there, and some of them are big. Some of them are really big.
I could tell because look at the creature. Holy smoke! It towers over the other ones. Towers.
So yeah, so a lot of awesome stuff going to be unlocked that we haven't told you yet.
May I ask, was that card on the side? Is that artistry? A little card? What is that?
That's a piece of art by Matt Bush. He did that originally for my Conspiracy of Planet Apes book. It is a book plate that's going in the slipcase edition.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my God. Folks, do you see it as again, it's gonna go live. Get her done. Support this project. This is pre-game day. So if you need to look at your bank account and say, can I do it? Remember, you don't have your money don't come out until the project is over. All right. So yes, you have time. Go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Between now and then, you already have paid your rent, so you're gonna have a nice loose check. Don't be bullshitting me, people. All right. Support creators like this right here that are doing dope projects for us to be entertained and get off the damn screens. Over here, we could go through a book and sit with our friends and play a dope game and a dope imagination. And as a mutant, I will stop everybody. No one will stop me. All right, so I can't wait. I'm gonna dig into you, Andy. You're awesome, bro. I can't wait to really dig into what you did here. So, last question here is like, you're a vet in the game. You've been doing your thing for many. You have touched upon amazing franchises while you have been, in the game. Like, what advice would you give to the youngins, and based on how the world has changed since you got in? Like, what type of advice you give them?
The way I got in is the opposite of the way you can do it now. So now you have to do your own thing. Like, publish your own adventure for say Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. You're allowed to do that. Do your own stuff. Write your own novel. Get it self-published if you have to. The more stuff you do, the better chance that you're going to get a chance to work on a license like this, because everybody's going to want to. Everybody's going to want to see what has this writer done or what has this artist done already before they decide if they're going to bring you onto the project. I got lucky that I could afford the license and that I had a studio, because I had an art studio that I had created to do the work at Rockstar Games at the time. But that it just doesn't work that way anymore. And it's interesting that a lot of people are very confused about how licenses work. Some people think you write an entire novel for Star Wars and then hand it to Lucasfilm and they say, that's great, we'll publish it. They're not even publishing it. They have a publisher that does that, and the publisher who has the license is going to look at it and say, whose name can we bring to this that's going to make Star Wars be bigger? Timothy Zahn was already about a bestseller before he did Star Wars, things like that. So you have to work to get your stuff out there, get seen. And if you're going to comic conventions or you're going to gaming conventions, there's always a hotel or a bar where everybody hangs out afterwards, and you can meet the editors and the people who work on the games, start up conversations with them, become somebody they know. And so when you tell them, hey, I have this thing I'd like to do, they might try you. They might be like, hey, let's just try that person out. They might give you a chance. But it's all about social networking and getting your own work done on your own before anyone will look at you for something like this.
I love it. That's real talk. Get the work done. Talk to people. Get out there. Show your work, man. I love it. Andrew EC. Can I ask what's the EC for?
Edward Christopher. It's my two middle names.
Wow, look at you have as long as a name as a Latino. Andrew Edward Christopher. You seen a Latino role? My gosh. I only play. I love it, bro. You are awesome, folks. Again, I'm gonna show you one last time. Please support the project. You know, it's on Kickstarter. Magnetic Press is the official baby Planet of the Apes role-playing game. All right, brought to you by the one and only Andrew E.C. Gaska. That's right, and I say that's how you follow my man Andrew on all the social media. Stay tuned, stay up to date. But again, make this project happen. All right, you guys got it. Again, you guys have more than enough time. This project's gonna go live tomorrow. All right. All right, make it happen, mi gente. This is live. I'm telling you, yo, you won't regret it. You saw the beauty. Do I just show you again? Let me show you one more time. Look at that. Look how beautiful. This is Shelf Porn Supreme. This is triple X stuff. Whereby is dangerous, baby. I love it. I can't wait to put this on my shelves. Thank you so much, Andrew, for hanging out with me, talking to Planet of the Apes, talking about your ride in the business. You absolutely rock it. To my Crusaders, you are awesome. Hasta la próxima. You know what it is. Much love. Wepa! Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.